Welcome everyone for this WASH SDG session on financing climate resilience WASH. We will start in a few minutes, so we're just waiting for everyone to join. But while people are joining, the people online could already you can already introduce yourself to the people in the chat box. My name is Kate van der Meijden, the WASH SDG Program Manager, Consortium Manager.
I welcome you to this amazing session. Thank you for choosing to be with us at this time. I'm sure you're here with us because we have a common goal of sustainable WASH services for all. As the WASH SDG Consortium that also comprises the WASH Alliance International, we're implementing the WASH SDG program that is funded by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The program responds to the Dutch commitment to contribute to the SDGs, but in particular, SDG 6, by ensuring that we improve the WASH situation for everyone. The Alliance consists of 100 partners worldwide. Both the WASH Alliance and the WASH SDG Consortium is led by CIMAVI. The WASH SDG program started in 2017, and we are present in 7 countries with 14 sub-programs. We are also our target is to reach 9.3 million people with 59 million euros. With that, therefore, means that we have 6.3 euros to reach everyone. So if you look at 6.3 euros per person for inclusive WASH services, that's limited. Resources are always limited, they're never enough. Therefore, the WASH SDG program came up with innovations to ensure that the limited resources does not subsidize the implementation of the program that was funded by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And for this session, the innovation is cost recovery. For the cost recovery, it's not just a one-off thing that we did. We have a consortium of efforts that were put in place where we built capacity of private sector. We created awareness in communities to ensure that they appreciate the importance of investing in their own toilets, where government partly or fully contributed funding to the program, but also where we got subsidies from government so that communities were able to still invest in their sanitation and hygiene services while still meeting the basic needs of their households. And so for this case, cost recovery was an effort to recoup a portion of all the financing that was related to the WASH services. In this session, we'll look at cost recovery from different dimensions. We'll look at direct cost recovery, indirect cost recovery. We'll look at cost recovery at community level, institution level, but also looking at internal cost recovery. And for the session, we'll have to have an opportunity to listen to very interesting cases from around the world. We'll have an opportunity to listen to institutionalized cost recovery from Plan International Nepal. We'll also have an opportunity to listen to cost recovery when it's done internally within a school. We look at cost recovery where efforts are pushed towards government through advocacy to ensure that we realize cost recovery, and that's a case from Indonesia. We're also going to look at scheduled empty as an effort towards cost recovery from SNB Zambia, and then we're going to look at revolving fund as a mechanism to cost recovery from Nepal. To kick off this session, I have the pleasure to introduce Sabiha Siddique, who is the male advisor for CIMAVI. She's based in Bangladesh, but she supports all the countries. She's been managing the data analysis for the end-term review for the entire program. CDK is so passionate about MEL and numbers excite her. And so please join me to welcome CDK to take us through the midterm review. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hazra. Good morning, everyone. My session would be a little bit boring with numbers, so bear with me, please. Oh, I thought the numbers are coming. I see some people with glasses. Just ignore, yeah. So, of course, it's a beautiful graph. It's a JMP ladder and the analysis of the whole end-term review of the WASH SDG program. It incorporates the result from the Nepal, SNB, WASH Alliance International, in all 7 countries. This is in one simple graph, you'll be able to see the overall result of the program. Here, I will briefly explain a little bit about the baseline and compare with the end line. Many of you might already know about JMP and the definition of different ladders, but we might have some participants to whom it might be new. So just very briefly, this is water service. As per JMP, sanitation. You can see there is a toilet, but also a plumbing thing, because sanitation is not only about latrines, but it's also a whole process of pit emptying and safe disposal, as per the JMP. You can call it like clap, but I'm really not looking for a clap here, but just a hand washing. So here the result is based on the hand washing, does not incorporate the MH information, but only the hand washing results. So, okay, if you can see, the top, the very blue, are the safely managed service ladder, and the light blue is the basic level service, and the same way for the sanitation is dark green is the high level, like safely managed, and also for the purple one for hygiene. I think, yeah, no wonder why the people with glasses were there. So as you can see that the safely managed services at the baseline in the whole program was 15% initially for water. That means that the definition of safely managed water is the water will not have any contamination, any chemical contamination, and of course, and also the basic one is including queuing, you can have the access to water within 30 minutes. So compared to the baseline in the end line, you see there is a little bit improvement, but of course not as much as we have targeted, which is very normal, because in all the countries, as you can see, contamination, the water quality is a big concern. In terms of sanitation, the improvement in terms of safely managed sanitation is still quite less, but as you can see, the basic level sanitation services have improved a lot. It was 40% at the base and 60% towards the end line. Hand washing. Of course, if you see the midline column and end line column, you see compared to the red one is the hand washing service at base was very poor, and during the midline we had the COVID hit. And of course, we don't want to say that the program did not contribute to hand washing, but COVID did play a role in improving the hand washing services overall in all the programs of WASH SDG. So as you can see, from the 14%, now we have a 56% result towards the end. That means the households or schools have availability of soap and water with the device in their premise. All right, we have a sustainability check results also. It's a work in progress within the program. So IRC has analyzed the sustainability check results, and on the left column you can see the indicators for the sustainability check. So the program had 11 indicators, but the sustainability checks has a different indicators. There we check the technical sustainability, how the government provided different services, the capacity to plan the capacity to monitor the services, etc., at the government level. We also check the technical sustainability, financial sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability. So I will definitely not speak these all numbers, but just showing at a glance that this is another angle where we checked the sustainability of the program, and overall it has improved. However, of course, as targeted, we are not yet there. So yeah, so that's at the government level. And this is the sanitation sustainability check result. Quickly, okay, just going back to the cost recovery, we have, in WASH Alliance, we have 13 indicators, but overall we have 11 indicators of the WASH SDG program. We have picked few indicators and share the results because we don't want to bore you, and also we don't have enough time to present all the results, which are related to cost recovery. So the indicator 5 for the program is that how much the household actually invested in WASH services. If you can see at the base, definitely the households, especially where we actually do our implementation, they, most of the, in the rural areas, community people or households are mainly concerned with their daily income and food and shelter. So WASH is, of course, at base we have seen that the WASH was not as prioritized at the household level, but through the program, because we sensitize, I will also explain in my next slide, towards the end line you can see the target was for Bangladesh was 65 because we had a 48% result in base. But then it improved, and in Bangladesh we have 95% result where households are investing in the operation and maintenance of their water facilities and sanitation facilities, and also invest in the improved facilities within the households. In Nepal, if you can see that again the target was 80%, but then it was 61. And then in the end, we have 81% result in Nepal. In Uganda, if you can see that the target was quite high, 90%, but then we have 82%, which is less than our target. However, if you compare with the baseline, it's 60s. It's a lot of improvement. Okay, another indicator I will explain, is important to the cost recovery is the level of strength of WASH sector policies and regulations, especially how the local government implemented and took action based on the policies. So if you can see in Bangladesh, it was 25% where the policies were not, especially in the implementing areas, were not much aware or of course not serious about implementing the policies related to WASH service provision, which have, of course, improved, but we are not yet there. They are more aware and implementing monitoring and budgeting aspects within when they provide services. If you can see in Nepal and Uganda, in Bangladesh, at base, we had 25%, 25%, and 20%, which was quite low because at base we saw that the policies were not being very followed for the WASH-related policies mainly, or water-related policies. Then it actually improved to almost 75% in the end. Because, maybe next slide is more relevant, the reason is that the whole program, WASH SDG program, is a software-based program. This is the uniqueness of the program, but also it was a big challenge for all of us to implement. Initially, the whole development sector or in the water sector, people in the intervention area, we see that people are used to getting direct support. For example, initially we actually heard a lot of community people asking for water points. Like, oh, okay, this is the WASH SDG program. That means we are going to get like few tube wells, few latrines for the excluded group, etc., etc. But of course, we had a different angle. We did a lot of software where we actually tapped into the resources within the local government or within the government WASH budget, and then utilized those budget to contribute to at the household level. So due to that coaching and continuous awareness raising on WASH in different levels at the household, at the local government, and also at the private level, Here the private means the entrepreneurs, the WASH entrepreneurs that we are referring to. It actually contributed to the whole cost recovery system within our WASH SDG program areas. Second point, so these points are actually a compilation of the N-line narrative report of Bangladesh, Nepal, and Uganda. So just sharing so that you know it's not really focused on one country only. The cooperatives providing subsidies, subsidized credit products. This one basically simply, we actually sensitize the WASH entrepreneurs who are used to be just business or who used to own the shop, but throughout the time they had more credibility and then more coaching and also training on how to provide services reaching to the community level. For example, at base, the entrepreneurs would just sit there at their shop and sell. But then we also said that it can be your marketing strategy if you, after disaster, you reach out to the people and then give subsidy. And at the same time, sensitizing the local government, saying, can you utilize the WASH budget that you have, and tapping into those resources. And the households who used to think that WASH is not, well, investing on, let's say, a latrine is not as important as investing on food, they realized is that improved toilet also helps them save some money. For example, every time if they invest a like a very low quality toilet, they install after a disaster, and then there will be another flood next year. They would end up investing again. So they realized that it's better to invest more in an improved toilet which doesn't get damaged during the flood or disaster. That's how they also saved the cost for the facilities. Inclusive marketing strategies from the WASH entrepreneur side. There are few angles. Not only the WASH entrepreneurs went to the community, but also they provided the services in a way which has installment process. Let's say if households cannot afford at once, they would give installment, okay, you can pay me later. And or they could also give a free delivery service of the, let's say, pit latrines, so the households won't have to invest much. So this was not, and then the also contribution, full contribution or partial contribution from the government stakeholders, help the household level save money, at the same time invest money on the improved water and sanitation facilities at household level. Overall, what we can say is that it was not a stand-alone process, but contribution from every angle, from the private sector, from the public sector, it really contributed towards the improved or better cost recovery at the household level. I'll finish in 1 minute. And then overall, we can see that the increased affordability. So then the household also felt that, okay, I am not the only one investing all the money for my WASH services. They could go to entrepreneurs like the shop and also to the government also for the support. This also gave them a feeling of affordability, that they can afford their services. And accessibility like also improved, and participation. It's not only the household participating in the government meeting, but also government stakeholders, bringing them together and then discussing about the improved service provision. That was also helpful, and the accountability at different level, at household level, at the community, and the private and the government level. All together, it really contributed towards the improved cost recovery within the WASH SDG program at household. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sabiha. Another round of applause for Sabiha, please. Like I said at the beginning, we bring experiences from communities that range from the consortium of the detailed cost recovery that Sabiha has just taken us through. The next session is interesting. So we have all those different cases, but everyone in this room will have to decide which case they want to go to listen to in details and to support development. And how we do that is I'll give each case owner 2 minutes to pitch their case. So for the people in the room, your role is to listen keenly so that you don't miss out on a case that would fit you best. And so to begin, I'll start with a case that is a video. So you...
मेरो नाम जानकारी घिमिरे गोर्खा तथा खानपान क्षेत्र योजनाको म चाहिँ उपाध्यक्ष हुँ अनि गोर्खा तथा पदमा काम गरिरहेको छु यो हाम्रो गोर्खा खानपान योजना चाहिँ 14 वर्ष भइसक्यो हाम्रो योजना चाहिँ बनेको अनि यसमा चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ यो 405 घरधुरीले चाहिँ पानी प्रयोग गरिरहेका छौँ पहिलाको खानपानी चाहिँ माथि हाम्रो पोलिफार्म भेटिएको थियो हाम्रो कुनै पनि योजनाहरू थिएन र हाम्रो यो प्लान लेभललाई चाहिँ खानपान तथा सुरक्षा योजना ल्याएर हामीलाई के अरे सार्वजनिक धारामा के अरे 75 रुपियाँ नि धारामा 150 रकम जम्मा गऱ्यौँ हामीले त्यसरी गरिसकेपछि हाम्रो खातामा चाहिँ 2 लाख रुपियाँ पैसा जम्मा भयो र हामीले त्यसैबाट चाहिँ समारोहहरू गरिरहेका छौँ
खानेपानीको लागि चाहिँ सुरक्षा योजना अन्तर्गत उसको पनि एउटा व्यवस्थापन गर्ने व्यवस्था मिलाएको हुनाले खानेपानी अन्तर्गत मिलाएको हुनाले त्यस अनुसारको हामीले एक चरणमा मर्मत गरेको अवस्था आइसकेपछि खानेपानीको चाहिँ योजना त्यसलाई जाँच गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब एकदम शुद्धता पानीको अवस्था रहिरहेको र यस अनुसारको चाहिँ खानेपानी उपभोक्ताहरूले चाहिँ उपभोग गरिरहेको अवस्था
हामीलाई पहिला चाहिँ कलमा जानु पर्थ्यो त्यो धेरै नै समस्या थियो अहिले चाहिँ घर घरमा धारा भएकोले अब त्यही नजिकै हुन्छ नुहाइधुवाइ गर्न त्यो महिनावारी हुँदाखेरि कपडाहरू धुन गर्न सजिलो हुन्छ
Thank you very much. So you're free to take down some notes. You're free to take out some notes because at the end of the session, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions to any case owner. And so for the next case, the case comes from an online presenter, case holder, Shalom from Y, Uganda. Technology, could you help me on that?
मेरो नाम जानकारी घिमिरे
Sorry about that. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shalom from Uganda Y. And I'm here to pitch a case of Ajalanyana Primary School that is located in Agago district in Uganda, which has been implementing a cost recovery plan for its school. It's an institution. The target population are pupils, teachers, school management committees, and parents. The reason for cost recovery is that the government grant is not enough to cater for operation and maintenance of the school WASH facilities, and it's also not enough to cater for new investments in school WASH. The main innovation aspect is that schools use unique resources like land to have cost recovery plans implemented. And for more details, you can join us in our breakout session if you want to learn more about the cost recovery plan in schools and how the cost recovery works for schools in the Uganda WASH SDG program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shalom. That was less than 2 minutes.
The unpredictability
please
of climate
take
change
down
and
some notes. You'll
vulnerability
be free
of
to ask
people
these people the
make it
questions.
difficult to
So
recover when floods.
let's listen to the next cost recovery.
The unpredictability of climate change and vulnerability of people make it difficult to recover when floods hit Belu and Malacca, two small towns in East Indonesia. During floods, toilet is damaged and become inaccessible, especially by people with disabilities, the extreme poor, and the elderly, who are the most impacted groups in climate crisis. This condition raises questions on how cost recovery system is available in the government budget system to ensure that the most marginalized groups have access to climate resilient and inclusive WASH in household level. Plan Indonesia, through the WASH SDG program, conducted a series of advocacy work for the local government to have a cost recovery system to recover, rehabilitate, and adapt sanitation facilities at household level. The cost recovery system enables the local government to allocate funds to have better emergency preparedness and response by making accessible, climate change resilient, and affordable toilets for the community and the most disadvantaged groups. Women, girls, and disability organizations are also encouraged to participate actively in the advocacy process to ensure the government prioritizing marginalized groups in the cost recovery system. The advocacy work in WASH cost recovery system has resulted in promising results, but few other challenges remain. We leave a few questions for all of us to think about. What is the result of this advocacy work? What is the successful element of it? And how do we ensure that the cost recovery system for climate resilient WASH is inclusive and safe for everyone? Most importantly, how can we improve the system in the future to ensure the sustainability of the cost recovery within the local government budget system?
It gets more interesting, doesn't it? So to transition, thanks to the global community now, we're going to listen to cost recovery from Zambia online. You're most welcome.
Good morning. My name is Edgar Chamwe. I'll be taking you through a cost recovery approach through scheduled dislodging, which was implemented in Kabwe district. All right. Yeah, so it was implemented in the peri-urban areas of Kamshanga and the urban area of Luangwa district. And why this cost recovery model? We realize that in Zambia, we have a strong regulatory system, which is based on the principles of cost recovery. And unfortunately, this current cost recovery system does not allow for investment into the FSM system. And also, it doesn't promote affordability of services by the user. And also, there's no fragmented payment system, which is mostly favorable for people in the low income areas. And in terms of financial sustainability, because of the tariffs only being able to cover the operation and maintenance costs, and there's also low demand for emptying services, it's unable to financially sustain these FSM services. And the proposed current recovery system, it will be able to increase affordability of emptying services because there's increased access to services for even the poor. The innovative aspect of this business model is that it presents efficiency gains for the commercial utility, and there's also predictable revenue for the private emptier, as well as preventing toilets from overflowing and the sludge from sitting too low, hence reducing the production of methane gas. And it also enables a monthly installment, which at least households are able to give a small amount as opposed to paying a lump sum payment. And just having a schedule on its own is innovative enough. It's the first time such a program is being implemented in Zambia. And lastly, it allows for cross-subsidization, where the low cost of emptying of septic tanks in the high-income areas is able to subsidize the lower income areas. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It gets more interesting, and so last but not least, probably saving the best for the last, I'll call on Mingma to come and give us a 2-minute speech of his case.
Good morning and namaste. This is Mingma Sherpa from Nepal. I'll be pitching on the cost recovery approach on safe sanitation systems that we are trying to promote in Nepal. So this case study is based in Kohalpur municipality, which is roughly about 100,000 population, targeting both urban and peri-urban households. So looks like I'm the only one sort of pitching face to face, so that gives me an advantage. So guys, you should join definitely, my session. So yeah, I mean, as compared to basic sanitation systems, we're talking about single pit latrines, and then now we're in the sort of WASH SDG area. Where we're trying to promote safe containments, safe and climate resilient, containments. And compared to basic pit latrines, safe containments definitely it has a cost. These are expensive compared to basic pit latrines, and that's why a cost recovery model is needed to scale up. So our concept is the innovative aspect is we've tried to devise a WASH fund at the municipal level together, and then the external agencies we've also put in seed money. We are using the financing institutions to actually to roll out these funds to the households, and it's not just the containment. It's a overall systematic approach where we need to have the regulations, bylaws. We need capacity building. We need the entrepreneurs. So it's a mixed sort of approach to achieve this goal. So I think if you want to hear more about it, please do join my session. I'll be on this table. If you have more people, let's join 2 tables. So you're most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mingma. So like Mingma said, you have a choice to go to a table of your choice. So if you loved Mingma's pitch, please you move to the center where Mingma is seated. If you loved the video from Indonesia, then please move to where Harry is. And if you love the video from Nepal, please move to my left. You can take a minute to think about the 3 cases. Unfortunately, the people in the room won't have the opportunity to join the cases online. The people online, there is an opportunity for you to join. The technology team will assign you to either SNV or Uganda. But for the people in the house, please, in a minute, pick a case of your choice. And worry not, you're not going to miss out anything, because we're going to have a plenary where all cases will report back to us and you'll have opportunity to ask them questions. So if we could move, please.
So they are already engaged in that WASH SDG process, so they can get more budget from that, showing the need of this community. Thank you so much for your active participation. One final, because see they are still busy. One final, somebody maybe will have yes. I will also suggest the system would be more sustainable.
Maybe that will be our next project if we get another project. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We get back to plenary, please. We get back to the point where you have the opportunity to ask all those questions to all the case holders. Thank you, everyone. Please take back your seats, please. Welcome back from the interesting, very interactive sessions. This is the time when we get one person from each case to come and report back to plenary. And while this person reports, still it's the time that we attentively listen so that we get to get a glimpse of what transpired in the sessions. Like I said before, it's also the time that you get to ask the questions that you wrote down during the pitch. And so to start with, we'll start with one person from Nepal to come and report back for a minute about their case. Yes, 1 minute, please.
Thank you so much. Hajra, should I come on, please? Thank you so much. From Nepal, I'm called Pamela Kabasinguzi. I'm from Uganda, and I've been working with Simavi as a partner of Simavi for a very long time. And thank you so much. 1 minute. So from Nepal, we've been working with 2 municipalities in Nepal, and working with 14 water committees. These 14 water committees did not have women on their committees, but also the wells were not functioning. So when we made an assessment in these 14 water facilities, there was, first of all, the poor water quality. They were not functioning, and when they function, the water is not good. The committees were full of men who were not actually functioning. But when we started mobilizing them, we recruited the women on the committees, and the women at first never wanted to come into the meetings, but at the end of the day they came, because we started also training them and empowering them and making sure that this is their water. And out of the 22 women that were invited for training as masons, only at the moment we have 11 of them on the committees, but we also have a good number of about 5 to 8 masons, 7 masons that are women. Then on the right now, the communities were not paying for the water that they collected, and the functionality was very low. But now they are paying from 40 rupees to over 100 rupees per household. The lessons learned, the risks, there are risks associated, but once the quality is good and improved, and using the maintenance, the operation and maintenance fund, then the entrepreneurs come in and they make money out of that, so the wells are maintained. Another lessons learned is that we have to always look at the health improvement. If you have good water, has it impacted economically to a household, to a lady at home? Has it impacted economically, but also health ways? Have the diarrhea or the water-related diseases reduced in the community? Thank you so much. Nepal.
That's a case of 1 minute turning into 3 minutes. For the next speakers, I might be rude to work with the technical team to turn off the mic at the point of 1 minute. So watch out, please. So let's hear from the online team report back on the case. Online, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Norbert Ola. I work with WASEU. WASEU is part of the Uganda WASH Alliance, implementing the WASH SDG program in Agago district. And keynotes from our discussions, which was on social inclusion, on cost recovery systems, and our case context was schools in Agago district, which is in northern Uganda. What we noticed is that WASH financing in most times is limited in terms of the resource envelope, which constrains different WASH delivery. And we also noticed that the approach starts with basically schools drawing different plans customized to their specific needs. And the core innovation aspects around the approach basically include land use to generate income to finance operation and maintenance. And then the other aspect of innovation is the use of the cost recovery planning tool as a lobbying initiative to support budget overheads for these intended beneficiaries. The success elements from the approaches for the intended beneficiaries through the initiatives already implemented. One of them is actually a detailed plan to guide tracking of milestones. The other is raising of resources to actually support on O&M. On aspects around sharing the burden, we noticed that as much as most of the burden rests on government, we noticed that government as a key stakeholder cannot achieve much as a single solution provider, and therefore we noticed that there is a role to play for a number of other stakeholders. Thank you so much.
Uganda. Thank you. I promise to be rude, pardon me. Next, can we please have a report back from Plan Indonesia? Please, 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Stephen from Nazava Water Filters, and in our discussion we learned about how there was a major cyclone that destroyed all the sanitation facilities in eastern rural Indonesia, and Plan International lobbied with the government to invest in the recovery in building new toilets that are not only climate resilient but also inclusive to people with disabilities. And so they installed handrails, built toilets which are at a higher, a bit higher, so they don't get flooded as easily. So we talked a bit about the cost recovery aspect, and this is something that needs to maybe be worked on in the future, because currently the funds that came from partially from the government, which supplied the materials, and then the individuals, the household owners, they are in charge of the labor and the maintenance cost. And yeah, something that we discussed is possibly having the users contribute towards the cost of maintaining and building the toilets in the future. Yeah, the hope is that after this experience lobbying with the government to allocate towards disaster recovery, that they will continue to do so in future disasters. But this is an area that Plan International will still continue to work on. So, anything else?
Thank you very much. That's spot on. So we now know that it's possible to report back in 1 minute, and so I'm expecting that SNV Zambia will believe and report back in 1 minute.
Okay, I'm sharing on behalf of SNV. Edgar Chanwe did a really interesting presentation on a pilot that scheduled desledging in low and income areas in Zambia. It was very cool to see that they lowered the price for consumers to just 0.67 euros per month. And there were a lot of questions and interest on this topic, and Edgar really explained the limits on fees set by the regulator only allows O&M, not expansion. And he also clarified the benefits for climate change and how this reduced illegal dumping. Was I less than a minute? Great job, SMV.
Wow, that's a time savior. Thank you very much, Zambia. And so, why Nepal? 1 minute. 1 minute starting now.
Yes, so at our table we were discussing a interesting and innovative new revolving fund that is being set up to pay for sustainably managed sanitation. We all know sustainably managed sanitation is expensive. It's more expensive than only building pit latrines. The prices that were mentioned, for example, is a new septic tank that would cost $1,000. How do you recoup that investment? So we were talking a lot about incentives. How can we incentivize that kind of investment? But we were also talking about the sticks. So the bylaws that the municipality will be putting into place. And for example, giving you the clear message that if you don't stick to the options that we're giving you, you will be paying a higher price in the end than the incentivized municipal revolving fund. And then in the end, we also discussed how do we ensure that there will be a high rate of repayment for these funds, for example, through peer pressure, through the cooperatives who are distributing the funds. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And so that brings us to the end of our reporting back. Now is the time that I promised everyone, the time to ask your questions. I'll start with the online team, and this is how we'll go. I'll take a series of 3 questions online, 3 questions in the room, then address the case owners. Please take note while the questions are being asked, because you'll respond to these questions as I have no capacity to respond to them. And so, technical team, please, do we have any online questions? Femke? Okay, as we wait for the technical team, let's take 3 questions in the room, and the case owners, please take note. No questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter Thorning, Danish People's Aid. I was in is it We Nepal group? Why Nepal, sorry. And one of the things I really enjoyed about that session is how closely you're working with local government. Local government is, as we know, in most countries in the world, actually the legally responsible for the provision of water and often also sanitation. So I'd like you to expand a little bit on that. We seem to often bypass local government in this, if possible, because we see them as a hindrance or an obstacle. But I think there's a huge element of sustainability in working as you have done with local government. So please, if you can expand a little bit on that cooperation and how it works and why you're doing it.
That's question number 1, right behind. Oh, there's a question behind you.
Thank you. Yes, a question just about cost recovery and financial sustainability in general. So we have perhaps funding from users, from governments, from NGOs, from private sector. Who do we think should ongoing finance these initiatives? Are we aiming to sort of take NGOs eventually out of the picture? Are we aiming for users and governments together to sustain these things? What's the role of the private sector? You know, when we talk about cost recovery, what is the goal that we're actually aiming for in terms of financial sustainability?
Next question. Since there are no questions in the room, could we get a question online? Wow, our session is going to end quite early. Just 2 questions. So please, case holders. Oh, there's a question.
Okay, thank you. My name is Lucas. I also work for EAWAC. My question goes to Migma. So you mentioned that there is like a new kind of funding mechanism. Maybe you can elaborate a bit more. Who is investing and how this fund is being set up?
Those are 2 questions for Migma. So since there's only 1 question online, I'll take another question in the room. There's a question over there. My plan was to take 6 questions, so that's question number 4.
Just to find out from the Zambian team, how is the performance of the SMEs now? I think they are beyond that project period. So in terms of evaluation, how are they doing now? Yeah.
And then the online question, please. Thank you.
I will read the question out loud. How do we cascade the cost recovery model for households and entrepreneurs? It seems a good model for managing finance.
Okay. Thank you. So, case holders, please. We can take that as a commercial break. Case holders, please. I'll start with Mingma, who received, I think, most of the questions.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for the input there. I think we cannot bypass the local government. So government, I think we need to strengthen the local governments or the provincial, federal government in case where the capacity is weak, but we really have to work closely with the local government. I don't think we have other options because they are the ones who are really concerned with the public services and they need to deliver. We have to make them accountable to deliver public services, and I think that has been our approach. And in Nepal, I think most of the development partners, we work very closely with the local government right now, who has, again, they have, after the federalization, the power is there with the local government. So we are working closely with them in terms of building their capacities, building the governance system, governance mechanism, in terms of for them to monitor progress, track progress. So when we started with the memorandum of understanding with them to work on these on these aspects. So the program itself, we were providing more kind of technical advisory support, and helping them develop investment plans, or phase-wise sort of investment plans, and then they put in the public money there. So often in our in case, I don't know about other countries, but in Nepal, sometimes there is a lack of investment plan. And I think now the government Nepal, we also have a ambitious WASH plan, that's in the making for all the municipalities in Nepal, that actually guides the overall investment over the years on water, sanitation, and hygiene. So we, as development partners, we are supporting the local government. Yeah, I think the capacities are weak, a little bit, but I think we really have to go through them. Yeah. I think the other question was around what is the role of the private sector. As I was, as we were discussing in this table, the role of private sector will be there. When we're talking from, as I said, from the MDG to the SDG, where we're talking about safe water, safe sanitation, the investment costs are so high, especially when you're talking about water treatment systems to put in place, safe sanitation systems, like sludge treatment plants, or even you're talking about decentralized wastewater systems or sewage systems. That all has a cost. And I think there we have a big investment gap right now. But the only thing, for us right now is the difficulty to bring in the private sector, how to bring them in, and how do they recover their costs, if they make an investment. So I think that risk is there. So we don't have the solutions yet, but we are trying. Even, for example, our water systems, we don't have water, we just have 1 or 2 water utilities in the country. So most of them are managed by water supply and sanitation user groups. So yes, we want the private sector to come in, invest, but yeah, we need to really work on the business cases around it. But there is definitely a role, and there is a role for NGOs, because to make these local bodies, municipalities ready for investment, there's a big capacity gap, and I think the NGOs and development partners can really help facilitate that environment, to create that environment. Yeah, thank you. And I think the other question around financial cost recovery, we are sort of trying to recover costs for the operational side of it, operational side of the services. I think a lot of our models here that we presented is on the operational cost, but not full cost recovery. Like, we're not trying to recover the whole capex of the systems. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mingma. And there was a question that was not directed to anyone, and it was an interesting question that is seeking to find out the goal of cost recovery. Is it that we want to kick out the NGOs, or do we want to? What is the goal? So please, all case holders, you're welcome. Or anyone else in the room is welcome to take on that question. Anyone in the room is welcome to take on the question. Mingma, you want to take it on? Yeah, the question was, so what is the goal of cost recovery? Yes.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, the idea is to have funds, to scale up systems and services. I don't think we have, a lot of funds available at our disposal. So we want to optimize on the budget we have, and we want to sort of scale it up using that. And in my case, I think the idea is to use that fund as much as possible to provide access to safe sanitation services for as much as households as possible. And I think Durgaji, you want to?
Yeah, I want to add some more point on that. Actually, the goal or aim of the cost recovery is different in different contexts and different case, in my understanding. For the case what Mingma has presented, his aim is different, and for the case what I have presented, little bit different. Because in my case, water safety plan, inclusive cost recovery, I wanted to make that community users level water system to be functionable, with the ownership of local community water users and sanitation committee for the sustainability of the water supply system, ensuring the safe water to the community from source to household level. So it's depend upon the context, in my understanding. Thank you so much.
But at the end of the day, all we want is sustainable access to WASH for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's linked to the question, the online question that was asked for the Zambia. But then, yes, Mingma, you still have something to say? So, so Zambia, do you want to respond?
All right. Yes. So, in terms of the performance of the private entities, the SMEs, currently they are doing well, though with a bit of challenges. Because of the way the tariffs are structured in Zambia, most is just based at cost recovery. Yeah, we hope to see a situation where in the long run, at least the kind of tariffs which will be there, at least will be able to favor them to make profits, so that it also attracts a lot of private sector to be engaged in the FSM business. Thank you.
Thank you. The journey is always evolving. So there's another question at the back. Yes. Microphone. Someone move the mic, please.
Yes, hello. My name is Margot Bolwerk from Plan International Nederland, part of this WASH SDG program. And maybe just as for your information, since we're now discussing on sustainability, maybe it's interesting to note that this program has that started in 2017 and it's finalizing next year. But the issue of sustainability was key. That is that the Dutch government, who has been supporting this program in the past few years, really wanted the program and all the partners and all the consortium members to really focus on that, and not only focus on it, through the sub-programs and all the activities, but also by really negotiating and exchanging with all the local governments that are part of this program, which are really a lot of local governments, and actually requested them to sign so-called checks and compacts, sustainability compacts, that would actually mean that when this program ends, the Dutch government or the donor could come back to all these local governments within 10 or 15 years to see really, okay, we did support you with this program a few years ago, what is still happening, what is there on the ground, and if functionalities or elements are not functioning properly anymore, what do you need in order to make it functioning again? So just as adding to this conversation, that sustainability really is the key actually of this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margot. It seems there are no more questions, which could mean that either the session was very clear or the session was something that everyone already knew about, but I'm thinking the former is true. The session was very clear, and thank you so much for your participation. You can still keep in touch with everyone that held a case here. But then to wrap up the session, we all agree that we do not have enough resources at our exposure. We also agree that in as much as funding is brought in to ensure that there's sustainable access to WASH services, in some cases, population growth does not match the funding. And so we need to think outside the box. And that's one way of creating sustainable access is through cost recovery. But then we also know that there's a lot of potential, even in the people at the bottom of the pyramid, like we saw in a case where a community took on the initiative for cost recovery. Like it's been said, cost recovery is shared responsibility. Cost recovery concerns government, cost recovery concerns private sector, but for the private sector, it's business. So we have to make a business case to the private sector, but to the household, we have to make them appreciate the benefit of investing in their own water sanitation and hygiene services. And so that brings us to the understanding that for us to have meaningful cost recovery that makes sense, actually, that enables us to recoup our ideal, all the fund that is put into the program, so that when the program ends, like Margot said, the sustainability compact, we still have funds to continue. Then we need an enabling environment. Therefore, policies play a key role in cost recovery. And then we have to be deliberate. Cost recovery cannot just happen. We have to have plans for cost recovery. We have to have a monitoring framework for cost recovery. Because once something is not being monitored, then it doesn't exist. And we need to measure our success against the set targets. Then we should consider it as a meaningful key to having sustainable access to WASH services. While doing that, we have to create awareness to the community that WASH services, water is free, but the services are not free. And as much as it's our right to have access to sanitation, but the services cannot be free. And therefore, meaningful engagement of community for investment in their WASH services. And for inclusive WASH access, we need, therefore, sustainable, streamlined, accountable, realistic, and coordinated cost recovery mechanisms. I thank you for your time, and thank you for your meaningful contribution. We hope to meet again. Thank you.